Hi everyone, so this week I wanted to take you through a couple of my top tips for photography in Walt Disney World. It's a bit of a mix and match of just my top recommendations of things you should do. It's not going to be too technical, so hopefully even if you're not that familiar with photography, you'll get something out of the video. Now, my first tip for getting good photographs in Walt Disney World is actually to not try and compete with everyone for the same location. It sounds a little bit odd, but everyone wants that photo in front of the castle, so everyone stood there and there's all these people all the way about. Sometimes you can actually get a really nice or even better shot without loads of people in the background or having to fight for space if you just take a little look about and see if there's somewhere near where you're trying to shoot that's just a little bit different. One of my favourites is, instead of taking photographs in front of the castle, on our 24-hour day we actually went off a little bit to the side, and there's a sort of fountain area with the grass on the new hub part of Magic Kingdom, and we got a really nice shot. It's still got the castle in the background, and it was just way less busy than trying to get photographs in directly in front of the castle in Main Street. Especially with Magic Kingdom, you can actually get a better angle on the castle without having the partner statue or the steps of the stage in the way quite as much. So it can be really worth just sort of moving a little bit to the side and still trying to get the same shot, but from a slightly different angle. Now, one of the great things that Disney offers are the Photo Pass House members, who are all dotted around the parks with great locations and really good angles and great photographs. They're perfectly happy to take photographs on your camera, but my big tip relating to this is that make sure you set up your camera first. They know their own camera usually, but they might not necessarily know yours, or they might not necessarily pick the same style of photo that you would want to go for. So my tip for this is just make sure it's all ready to go and that all they have to do is sort of focus and press the button. One of the ways you can do this is actually to take photographs of the people in front of you, if there's a bit of a wait, or just stand off to the side, sort of point the camera at the area that you know they're going to be shooting into, and make sure your camera's all set up and ready. If you just use auto, that's fine, you can probably skip this tip, but I found that if you do have like a DSLR camera or just a camera that needs a bit more work to it, then just make sure that it's completely ready for them to use. Not only will it be quicker for them to take the photo then, but you'll also get it exactly how you want, and they won't sort of be a bit, oh, I don't know how to use this one. Related to that with camera settings is make sure that you know your camera before you actually get out to Walt Disney World. I bought my new camera about a couple of weeks before we went, and even then that wasn't quite enough time for me to get to know it. And you don't want to be trying to learn how your camera works, or where all the buttons are, or what kind of photos you can get from it, and the kind of things that you can do with it while you're in Disney. You kind of ideally want to know that a bit before. So if you are planning to pick up a new camera for your holiday, make sure it's sort of 2 weeks minimum before you go that you pick it up, and really have a good go with it. Walk around outside in your local area and just take some photos and just get used to it and where all the buttons are and how to use it. Because you don't want to miss anything when you're actually out there because you were trying to learn where something was in the menu. One thing I always like to do with my camera is to take 2 photos every time I go to take a photo, especially when it's including people. I just take 2 shots really quickly, and it'll be very, very similar most of the time. But what you don't want to have happen is you've taken 1 shot and someone blinked, or someone made like a slightly weird face for just a fraction of a second, or something behind you. Just always have 2 photos. It's really easy on DSLR cameras. You just hold the button down and it'll go click, 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 and you'll get a couple. If you don't have a DSLR and it is a slower camera, just try for 2 regular pictures quite close together. It's always worth having 2 just for safety. You never want to really realize that you had an almost perfect photograph. This next tip is just for people with DSLRs or cameras that shoot in what's called RAW. It takes up a lot more space, but if you can shoot in RAW, definitely shoot in RAW. It doesn't do a huge amount for the quality of the photo, but it means you can do a lot more afterwards with it in things like Lightroom or Photoshop. For example, we went to the Yachtsman Steakhouse, and it's a very sort of yellowy environment in there. And if you take the photo in RAW, you can color correct it and make it look much more natural, and how it does actually look. You can make the whites look white again. This isn't hugely important. Sometimes you don't want to fix the color correction, you want it to look like how it looked like. But if you shoot in RAW, you always have the option. It can do a lot of things for exposure as well, so if the image ends up really dark, you can brighten it up a lot more than you would be able to if you hadn't shot in RAW. So it would be worth taking a look in your camera manual to see if your camera can do that, as if your camera can do it, it's just a great way of making sure that, again, you don't miss out on any photos that are almost perfect, and it makes it easier to fix things afterwards. Okay, my next 3 tips are actually all about light. Light is incredibly important for photography. It's literally the most important thing. My first tip is actually stay out of the sun. If you are trying to get photographs of people outside in Florida, the really bright midday sun can be incredibly harsh and actually quite unflattering sometimes. So if you are trying to take a photo, it's sometimes better to sort of sit off to the side in the shade or find an area that's a bit out of the sun, because it will still be bright, but it won't be in that direct sunlight. It's actually also easier for people to smile and not have to squint so much if you're not in the direct sun. So it's got 2 advantages, but that's definitely something that I would pay attention to. My next tip is still about light, but it's about flash usage. Don't use your flash for stuff that's really far away. One thing I see all the time whenever we're in Disney World is people taking photos of the castle at night and using the flash, and it's just not going to do anything. My large Canon flash only has a range of about 10 meters, 30 feet on a really good day. So if you're trying to take a photo of things that are further away than that or that kind of distance, and you're just using the built-in camera flash, you're not actually going to be doing anything to help make the photo better. And it'll actually make it worse in a lot of cases. It means that everything between you that is in the light beam is lit up, and everything after that is kind of dark, which can make things look kind of weird. The exception for this is if you're trying to take a group photo in front of the castle, then you would want the flash then, because you'll be able to light up the people and still see the castle in the background. But otherwise, your flash probably isn't going to reach, especially at somewhere like Fantasmic and you're at the back of the amphitheatre. Your flash isn't going to do anything. So my tip for that is to just wait until there's a bright moment, or just take a longer exposure, or just try and hold the camera really steady, but a flash isn't actually going to help. Speaking of not using a flash, and one of the things we get asked about a lot is how we take photos of the food that we eat. And my answer for that is sit near a window and don't use a flash. Flash is really harsh, creates a lot of harsh shadows, and it does not make the food look good. And my big tip for that is just try and sit near somewhere bright and light, and if you can't, don't use a flash and just try without. It's really hard to use a flash to take great photos of food, and it's not really something you'd be able to do that easily in the middle of a Walt Disney World restaurant. Now, one of my tips for people that are looking to get sort of more photos of Disney World like you would see on postcards and on Flickr and things like that, not necessarily with your family or people in them, but just nice photos of the place. One of the best things you can do is to scout around for your locations on Flickr. There are plenty of photo groups, and they've all got loads and loads of photos from Walt Disney World. And what it allows you to do is check out your location and your settings, what lenses people are using, and you can sort of go, yeah, okay, I'd like to take a photo from around this sort of area without having to be there, which can actually cut down on some of the time, because photography is time consuming. And you don't always want to spend an hour when you're on holiday when you could be going off and doing something more fun. So if you've already got the location in mind and you know roughly what sort of settings you're going to need, you're able to get that shot much more quicker and then go off and do the other fun stuff that there is to do. And my final tip is actually a tip of when not to take photos. There will come a point, if you're taking photos of your family, of kids, of anyone really, where they will just not be in the mood to have any more photos taken. If you've taken 2 and they haven't come out quite right, and you're like, okay, well we'll do another one, and you do another one and that doesn't work either, you know, at some point you're not going to get a good photo out of that situation, because the people in it are just not going to be in the mood anymore. The moment's passed and you're all kind of wanting to move a bit on. I find this happens a lot just sort of at the end of the day. Sometimes the best thing to do is just go, okay, we'll just not get this photo. It seems really sad, but there's a photo of me and my mum and my sister when we went to the Grand Canyon. We'd been on a boat going down the lake, we'd been in a helicopter, it had been a very long day, and we were so tired at the end of it. And someone asked if we wanted a photo at the edge of the canyon, and none of us were really in the mood, but we all sort of went, yeah, okay, I guess. And they took a few and they weren't great, and then we took some more and they were even worse. And the result is, yeah, it's a shame we didn't get that photo, but it would just put us in a worse mood. So sometimes one of the best things to do is just say, okay, let's put the camera down for a bit and just go enjoy my holiday and relax a little. Hopefully you found this video and taken away at least something from it. If there are any questions that you have about anything to do with photography, Disney, anything at all, just leave it down below and we'll get back to you on that one. Thanks for watching. Bye.